who we will introduce more formally in a few minutes. First of all, I guess let's get started with the four-way test. Colin Aldis is going to lead us in our four-way test, where he will read the four-way test, and we'll repeat after him one at a time. So, Colin, it's all yours.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note, I just changed my background, which might make me look funny, but I think it should be a palm tree and an ocean. And by the way, my corporation does not allow me to use that type of a background when I'm in professional meetings. So I will change it after lunch. But yes, Rotarians, please join me in the four-way test. First, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair?
It's fair to all concerned.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it
Be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Colin. And Sarah Burrington has a reflection for us today. Sarah?
I'm right here. We live in such crazy times. I have a lot of time to ponder, and I was searching thoughts about kindness, and I found quite a simple but interesting reflection that was written in 2007. I got muted, but can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, because I was muted for a minute. Sorry. Anyway, 2007, 13 years ago. Interesting that it's so pertinent to today. It's written by a woman whose only name appears as Lulu. I believe we are in many ways brought up to believe that kindness is very rare. We are taught about it in a cruel world and an unjust world. We are taught about man's inhumanity to man, war and violence, power and money. The world seems to be becoming more and more corrupt, and it's true, and I won't deny it. And this is Lulu saying that, not me. Humankind has succumbed to selfishness, arrogance, and primitive savagery toward one another in many cases. Yet in the pit of all humankind's violence and cruelties, there is a ray of hope that keeps us from ceasing to exist, and that is love. And with love comes kindness toward fellow mankind. Love motivates kindness. You cannot have love without kindness, and you cannot have kindness without love. It's the kindness in our heart that brings us together as a race after awful things have happened to our world. It was inhumanity that caused the Twin Towers to collapse, and it was love and kindness that brought the nation together. It is inhumanity that causes the wars we go through over and over again, and it is love and kindness that brings the world to peace again. These two contrasting qualities exist in humankind, yet sometimes kindness takes over completely, and sometimes someone will share their umbrella with a person who is drenched. Sometimes someone will give a hungry person a meal. And sometimes someone will give another person who's had a really bad day a flower or an inspirational message, and it really brightens everything about their day. A little difference goes a long way. And I think we can get the message across. If we can get the message across the world about kindness, we can balance out kindness and inhumanity and let kindness take over so that we are driven by love and kindness, not power and money. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. We have a challenging world that we're dealing with right now on all fronts, and so it's always encouraging to get a little bit of uplifting reflections on the way things are going. So, and so as we get started here, I'd like to welcome any visiting Rotarians, and I don't know, in looking at the screen, that we have any. I see that we may have, do we have another visitor other than Steve Troutman? Does anyone have a guest or anyone that you'd like to introduce? All right. So our schedule for Rotary, give you an update. Rotary Thursdays are Rotary next week after hours with social distancing, 5:30 to 6:30. Thank you to Frank Allen, Jeff Allman, and Vicki Allen and Terry Sorensen for hosting. You can register online as soon as possible via the calendar link or contact Elizabeth at the Rotary office. Masks are requested unless eating, and attendees are asked to bring their own food and beverages to reduce the likelihood of COVID transmission. So if you're interested in that and interested in an adventure and getting out, please look at that and sign up if you can. The Rotary office, FYI, will be closed tomorrow. It's closed every other Friday, and tomorrow's Elizabeth's day off. I assume she's heading up north to enjoy the Northland. Our Rotary board meeting via Zoom is Wednesday, September 2nd, 7 a.m. For those of you that are board members, we'll see you on Wednesday. Rochester Rotary Risers are co-sponsoring a drive-in movie, Frozen 2, on Friday, September 4th, a week from tomorrow, at 8 p.m. at 125 Live. They were given a partial district grant to participate in this, and so that would be Rotarians are obviously requested to sign up, and you can contact Elizabeth at the Rotary office for ticket information. You have to sign up in advance to do it. Fred, I think you have an announcement. If you would, the community, Rochester Community Service at Salvation Army. You want to?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a challenging time for some of us on the board who are charged with the task of trying to come up with community service projects in our present situation. We've had a number of our normal projects deferred or canceled because of distancing issues and things of that sort. We're trying now to come up with some other projects that we haven't been doing in the past, and the first one that's kind of hit the radar screen is the Salvation Army now is providing lunches for people in front of their new community service building. At the moment, they're outside. The Army is not putting together any more congregate dining as they have in the past, where we have done some volunteer work. And they'd like 2 or 3 people to help on Wednesdays, the second Wednesday of the month, which would be the 9th of September. I assume that what's going to happen here is that we're going to be there and we're going to be passing out box lunches or kind of policing the area in terms of making sure that trash gets picked up and things of that sort. Probably an hour and a half's worth of time between, say, 11:15 to sometime around after 1 o'clock. If anyone's interested in that, we'd be doing it every second Wednesday of the month. I'm assuming at some point it's going to have to move inside with the weather, but at least we can get started. So if anybody's interested in doing some volunteer work for the Salvation Army on their lunch program, please give me a call or email me, and perhaps I can have more information as we approach the time we're supposed to do it. But in the past, we've had a group of people who were willing to go down there and help serve dinner one night a month. So perhaps the group of that core group can come back and help a little bit with the lunch program. Thanks.
And I've actually placed a sign up online, so you can access the sign up via the calendar link. And I will also be sending an email with the link for that registration as well.
All right, thank you.
Right. So as Fred mentioned, we're trying to find some activities that those Rotarians that are that are okay with being mobile and out in the public a little bit, obviously with social distancing and all the precautions that need to be taken, gives people a chance, some options of things to participate in. And hopefully, if you're interested, if you can get signed up, I think the first one is September 9th, Wednesday. So time is coming up here. So if you want to go on the calendar on our Rotary website, you can get signed up. Rochester midday meeting and golf outing at Willow Creek is still scheduled for Wednesday, September 16th. Register online or through the Rotary office by the 4th of September. Trying to get groups lined up, and if you're a single or a pair and still want to sign up, we'll pair you up with others, and we'll just make it a fun event for all of us that sign up for it. And there'll be a very short program prior to with in the pavilion, which is outside at the Willow Creek Golf Course. So if you're interested, sign up. Elizabeth, perhaps you would like to give us an update on the Holiday Classic. I know there was a meeting on the 24th, which would have been Monday, I believe, on kind of updating on things. Did you get any kind of an update from the committee?
We have not heard yet from the Minnesota State High School League or the schools how they're going to be handling the basketball season. Currently, the committee is moving forward with sponsors and advertising and looking at ways that we can benefit our community with those sponsorships and advertisers, and also possibly distributing grant money. But the conversation whether or not the event will take place is still up in the air.
Okay. Well, stay tuned for future discussion on that. I think there's some tough decisions that are going to have to be made coming up here pretty soon, because commitments are being made with advertisers and sponsors, and also all the basketball teams, which are already pre-selected and committed, assuming they can go ahead. So we'll hear more in the next few weeks. August is Rotary Membership Month. And just to highlight, a group of Rotarians have had 100% attendance over the past year. That would have been 2019 and 2020, which would have obviously ended on July 1st. And those Rotarians are Chris Colby, that's me, Colin Aldis, 2 years, Sarah Gilliland, 3 consecutive years, Elizabeth Carcel, 3 consecutive years, Karen Weigel, 11 consecutive years, Judith O'Fallon, 14 consecutive years, Lori Ludke, 22 consecutive years, and drum roll, John Woodruff, 46 consecutive years. John, you must have joined when you were about 4, so that's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to everyone. I would make a note that the board has discussed a change in format with regard to 100% attendance recognition, and we've concluded that it would make sense because of the changing responsibilities and time frame that people have and family priorities and so on, that we're going to recognize significant anniversaries such as 5-year and 10-year anniversaries in the future. So this is the last time you'll be recognized, John, with your 46 years. But when you hit 50, we'll recognize you again. And so thank you all for that. Elizabeth, anything else that you want me to cover before we introduce our program?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So our program today is Steve Troutman. Steve is a futurist and frequent speaker on a number of diverse topics. At IBM for 33 years, Steve retired as an executive consultant in 2010. In the U.S. Navy, he was in the U.S. Navy Reserve for 23 years. He was a commanding officer of 4 units and attained the rank of captain. He's been a futurist since 1999. And he's an active volunteer serving on several boards and as a SCORE mentor to small businesses. He currently serves on the Life Advisory Board. So Steve, you have about 20, 25 minutes with time, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time afterward for questions. So you can, those of us that have questions, you can type them out on the chat screen, and we'll review those at the end of your presentation. So Steve, it's all yours. Thank you.
Excellent. I'll probably also teach you how to do questions in real time if I have time, but
Okay.
let's go ahead and get started. Share my screen here. Somebody say they can see that?
Got it.
Okay, excellent. So I'm here to talk to you about LIFE. LIFE is an acronym for Learning is Forever. And there we go. So LIFE stands for Learning is Forever. It provides adult enrichment education for people in or near retirement, but we do welcome people of all ages, and our mission has the 3 E's: educate, enrich, and engage, and it'll be important to know why we say that. LIFE normally provides classes and trips. The classes are all taught live by instructors. A typical class is 1.5 or 2 hours in length, the break in the middle. Our classes are done at the RCTC Heinz Center campus. Usually our classes are standalone, but sometimes longer series might have morning or afternoon sessions or stretch over a couple of weeks. We have some things that go on long-term, Great Decisions, and 2 book groups meet monthly. Trips are usually 1 day and include a bus coach and a lunch stop. That was before coronavirus. I mentioned trips. With the coronavirus in May, well, actually, when the lockdown order came, we discontinued all of our classes for our spring semester. So we shut down all the classes and put all the trips on hold. Since then, we restarted classes. I personally have hosted over 50 LIFE classes in May, June, and July. Our timing for me to talk to you today is just perfect because we're just starting our fall, September, October semester. That will be followed with a fall, October, November semester, and I'm going to show you the attendees of that class. In addition to offering our LIFE classes, I've taught a series of classes for our demographic or retired people, many of them not feeling technically conversant. I've conducted 5 How to Be a Zoom Participant class. I'm doing another one on Friday, and that's for the students. Since many of our presenters had never done an online class before, I've conducted a number of How to Be a Zoom Presenter class. I'll be doing another one this afternoon after I get done with a LIFE class, actually it's today. And I've also done some How to Be a Zoom Host class to talk to the person who behind the scene who makes all the magic happen. Some people are confused about the difference between LIFE and community ed, so I will try to help you out with that. LIFE targets seniors, specifically retirees. Like I said, all ages are welcome to LIFE. 80% of the classes at the LIFE program are new each semester. So if I go through a big long list of classes, you can count on the fact that about 80% of those have not been taught before. The classes are taught in the daytime, commensurate with being easy for our seniors to get around. And we have a broad goal of enrichment, education, and engagement. And I'll talk a little bit about engagement later. The community ed is targeted at the entire community, not at seniors. And if you look at the community ed catalog, you'll find that only 20% of their classes are new each semester, so 80% of them repeat. Examples are that cooking class, that language class, that driver training class, that how to use your computer class. Repeat semester after semester as new populations come up to need that training. The life class is much more academic, have a tendency to be new each time we come around. And the community ed classes, of course, are in the daytime and evening, both. And their goal is enrichment. So they don't have a goal to engage their community. What I have here is a list of the current classes that will be coming up in September and October. That's why the timing is great for this group. I'll just go down this list a little bit and give you a chance to read it. Russia in the World is a fellow who is an entrepreneur, has been doing business in Russia for many years, writes articles for the Putin's internal party magazine about business and American relations. Very interesting guy. We have somebody talk to us about how the pandemic is going to change the world. A local story is the mansions in the Twin Cities. Every Bird and More Tall Tales is a storyteller who will be entertaining us. The Coming Age of Chinese World Leadership and Mexican-U.S. Border, a Shared Responsibility are academic discussions, if you will. Coming up in September and October, a meditation class, if anybody wants that. I teach meditation. It's 6 sessions running over 3 weeks, and you will definitely meditate and you'll learn a lot of interesting stuff. I'll let you read through this. We have 2 book groups. One book group does great books, and the other book selects their own books, and their September book is Educated by Tara Westover. This is also coming up. So if you're counting, you'll find out we're going to have, I've got a couple more screens of these books. We can go back and look at these again if you'd like to. So we're having about 60 courses in the 2 months of September and October. I'm doing a presentation on climate change. I've done several times. The Teddy Roosevelt Fellow normally does a role playing of Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know whether he's doing that for this one. And we'll have a discussion of the Lakota women and their importance to the land. On the more humorous side is English idioms and wild and woolly tongue-in-cheek phrases. Should be interesting. TikTok Boom is a doctor who will be talking about tick-borne diseases. And this is the last screen of those. Paul Kaler does the local Rochester history, and he will be doing Rochester 1959, 60 Years of Progress. He's a regular speaker. So who teaches these classes? The people who teach our classes at the LIFE program are people who are subject matter expert on their topic. Usually they're teaching out of passion. It's they really like to teach and be in front of people. We have people who are active in public and private work. So we have doctors, both active doctors and emeritus, authors, college professors, politicians, and other business people. And a number of our life members are also instructors. Oop. Got ahead of myself. There we go. Whoa. This is a group picture of our local presenters. Dr. Winchellboom, who is a distinguished researcher at the Mayo Clinic. Nancy Morris was a judge. Jerry Lance, conductor. Bob Berry was, when he retired, was the curriculum director for the school district. Don Borcherding was the president of Yagi Colby when he retired. He's done some original research on the people who surveyed Minnesota and many of the central states here. And we had Officer Bradley and Duke, the police dog. No, it's not moving. There we go. We also have people that come to us from out of town. This is a partial list of some of the people who have come to us. We have a good connection with Gustavus, so we have professors from Gustavus who like to come and see us. Todd Lefko on the upper left is the entrepreneur I mentioned who has done a lot of business in Russia and is married to a Russian woman. Carol Veldman-Rudy from the Russian Museum of Art. So we have a very interesting spread of people. And when we did trips, these are some of the trips we did. You can see you will recognize some theaters, some the Hasselblad Mansion, where the American Swedish Society is, the Museum of Russian Art. The riverboat scene is going through the locks and dam, which is an interesting way to spend an afternoon. So very diverse, a lot of interesting things to do. The one-day trips usually include 1 or 2 places and a lunch stop. So how do we pay for all this? Well, we charge for classes, but we also apply for grants. We do fundraising and we seek donations. Many of our speakers will speak for free, and we have a volunteer board of advisory board that's very actively engaged and actually does real work. And of course, we're hosted by the Rochester Community and Technical College, and we are a major portion of their adult enrichment outreach program. The costs vary widely from class to class, generally based on how much the instructor costs or is charged. But a typical class is $15 for life members and $25 for non-members. Becoming a life member is a one-time fee of $25, and the $25 covers you for all 3 semesters of the academic year. So if you were to sign up as a life member in September, it will take you all the way through until next August. So, and the price difference between member fees and non-member fees, if you take more than 3 or 4 classes, you're gonna get your one-time membership fee back. We incent people to become members because then we can keep in touch and track with you and share things with you and have you on our mailing list and invite you to events. We have several free events typically in the year. And these are all the people that are currently sitting on the Life Advisory Board. And I'm sure some of you will recognize some of these names. And the question is, how do I get engaged? And it's a pretty easy story. www.learningisforever.net will take you to the webpage at RCTC. On that webpage, you can enroll online. The current catalog is there, past catalogs are there. If you have questions, you can always call Chris Ann Pieper, who is our executive director, and she can be reached at rctc.edu, or you can call the office, which is not occupied, except a couple days a week now, at 507-280-3157. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'll take this slide down and maybe we can see if they raised any questions or if there's something else you'd like to see.
Okay, thank you, Steve. You can probably call this up, so you see the questions here or the comments here. I guess this one says using a green screen in the background makes a nice screen background. I don't know if that doesn't relate to this. With 50 years of membership in our club as a goal to get free membership. These are all related to the previous discussion, obviously. Well, so I have one question that I would ask: are the field trips that are offered or will be offered in when things loosen up, are they typically handicapped accessible for those that have access issues?
They're done in a coach bus. So if you can get in and out of a coach bus, then the rest of it would be handicapped accessible.
Okay.
And you can you can verify that with Chris Ann Pieper. She's the one that set it up. Chris Ann is also involved. She works part-time for us and she works part-time for community ed. So she's involved in the community ed classes. So she can, she's a person to talk to answer those questions as well.
Okay. Any plans on offering a Zoom class on driver refresher course?
Well, the driver refresher course would be a community ed course. It's not the type of program that we offer. So I know for sure that community ed, Life and Community Ed occasionally do classes to both of our audiences. So we share a class with them. And Community Ed is conducting Zoom classes. So if you want that to happen, all you have to do is get to the Community Ed office and tell them you'd like to see a driver ed class if the instructor's up to doing that.
All right. Okay. Other questions? Anybody have? You can unmute yourself and ask the question if you want. I assume you can do that, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh.
Any questions? Here's a question. What might be the difference between life courses and those of Rhodes Scholar?
Well, that's actually a great question. The Rhodes Scholar classes that are conducted here in Rochester, and they typically we would have 3 classes. 2 of the classes would be on integrative medicine, and the 3rd class would be on alternative medicine. They're conducted as part of the Life program budget or operation. And actually Chris Ann Pieper is the one that sets them up and gets all the speakers and does all the legwork and hosts them if she can't find somebody else to do it. My wife and I have hosted a couple of those Rhodes Scholar trips. They're usually 1 week and they go to the Mayo Clinic and they go to take a tour of the mansions, and they take the trolley tour, and it's a fascinating program because they have these top-rate people come over and talk about their specialties.
Yeah, great.
We get the same sort of speakers. One of the speakers we have coming in September is Dr. Ed Cragen, who wrote the book, How Not to Be My Patient. He's written another book, and this book is based on his experience at being at the bedside as a palliative care doctor, at being at the bedside of 40,000 patients. And he's very direct, and will talk about what we should do because of the pandemic. He has some very clear advice about what you should be doing with your healthcare directives and that sort of thing. That's the class that is titled Farewell, I think.
So it sounds like there's quite a variety of different interest groups, both topical things that are relevant right now with our virus situation, as well as just general interest type programs. I know that Don Borcherding is a former partner of mine, obviously, Yagi Colby Associates, and Don, you talk about passion. Don dresses up like a surveyor from the early 1800s, and does presentations of all different kinds of topics. He's written a couple of books based on his research, and he's a pretty interesting guy to listen to. And he travels around much to the chagrin of his wife Pat, who isn't real crazy about going around to these different conventions and speaking as
Lieutenant Captain Talcott.
Captain Talcott, which he's got several uniforms, and he plays it up big time, so he has fun with it.
Yeah,
and good for him, that he can do that. So
yeah, he's a pretty favorite speaker.
Yep.
The speakers are found. There's a good question about how are the speakers found. The speakers are found all over the place. Chris Ann Pieper, our executive director, goes searching for things and talks to people, and she sees where somebody spoke someplace. Our advisory board has a committee that is very active in trying to figure out speakers. So they will often do legwork to find speakers to come and speak to the LIFE program. Interestingly, this current semester, we have a number of speakers who we would normally not be able to get because we're doing everything is Zoom classes. We have somebody coming in and speaking from the East Coast. Somebody is talking about a topic, and this person is located, I think, in Oregon or Seattle. So we've really been able to branch out and get some people to be part of the program because of the fact that we're on Zoom.
Right. Okay. Any other questions of Steve?
Oh, and I didn't answer the bottom part of that question. Is there a place to apply to be a speaker? And that would be send a note to Chris Ann Pieper.
Okay.
And the only thing you have to remember so that you don't have to strain yourself is learningisforever.net. And that will take you to the website, and you'll be able to see the catalog. Our catalog has a description of the speaker, a bio of the speakers, and a description of all the courses, a little brief clip.
Excellent. Well, Steve, thank you very much for interesting and timely program. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to find some things to do. As an honorarium as a thank you for participating with us today, we have, and Elizabeth will contact you, we have 5 different local organizations to contribute to, and she'll review those with you, and you can make a selection on who you prefer that to go to. So
that'll be
again,
perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun. And
you're glad to stay. You're welcome to stay on if unless you have something else. Sounds like you've got plenty of things in the works. So
I'm hosting Eddie Stenisham, who is the son of Julie Stenisham, and he is a COVID specialist in Utah, and he's speaking at 1. So I'm
Well, good luck
hosting
with
him,
that.
so I have to leave in 10 minutes, but I'll hang around for a while.
Well, I think what we're going to do, we probably have a little bit of time here, Elizabeth. It's 12:40 thereabouts, so we would typically break into some chat room situations, and I think we've got 29 or 30 people on board here, so we could probably get 5 or 6 of these chat rooms.
Say, Chris,
Yeah,
this is Doug Roving.
yeah, Doug.
You know, Steve had mentioned earlier that he might be able to provide some Zoom expertise to us. There was something he talked about, direct questions, or maybe it would be interesting if he would, I mean, I'm always trying to figure out how better to use Zoom, okay?
Sure.
Sure.
Well,
Could
sure,
you do that?
That would certainly be a way to use some of the rest of our time if it's okay with those of you who are on Zoom here and are interested. If you would, for a few minutes, give us some tips on how to use Zoom, Steve, that would be terrific.
Sure. I'll start with an easy one. I notice many of you are muted. And if you wanted to make a comment and didn't want to go chasing your unmuting yourself, an easy tip if you're on a keyboard is if you press and hold your space bar, it will unmute you temporarily until you release the space bar. Very handy if you just have a quick comment to make, or if you're talking and suddenly realize that nobody can hear you, all you have to do is, so you don't have to search out that unmute button, you can just hold your space bar down. A good way to handle conversations, especially with a big group like this, if you all got chatty, I mean, we weren't, that wasn't a problem, but if you all got chatty at the same time, a great way to handle those is to use the raise hand option. And the way you raise your hand is you click on the participants tab. So the 2 little people and the number of people in the meeting, click on that, it'll open up a window for you. In the bottom row of that tab is a button that says raise hand. And if you raise hand as Christopher has and Colin has, you can see their hands are up. You can also see them listed in that participant tab. And the participant tab's normally in alphabetical order. But when you use raise hand, it puts the person who raised their hands first at the top of the list. So now the host can see who wants to talk and go down that list in order. So the way I would normally do it, right now, Christopher, Colin, and Suzanne all have their hands up. I would call on Christopher, and while he's talking, I would lower his hand so I'd know he's spoken. I notice that Suzanne is muted. I got a button here I can click and ask her to unmute before I call on her. So that's helpful for a host. And the lovely thing about raise hand is then we don't have to read the thing. We actually get to hear it in your real voice with the intonation. If you have a follow-on question and all that, it all works great. So there's a couple of things that might help you. The other thing that's important for you to know if you're a participant in a meeting is the difference between speaker view and gallery view. Are you all trained in that? Speaker view, if you click on it, if you look at the top right-hand corner of your screen probably says speaker view. And the prompt is to change to speaker view. If you change to speaker view, what you'll get is the person who is making the most noise.
Okay.
And the speaker view hops around unless they've been pinned. Then you'll get whoever you pinned, but that's up to you who you pin. Going back to gallery view is when you get that big screen with all of us and you can see everybody. But if I wanted to show you my beautiful ceramic coffee cup, if you go to speaker view, you'll be able to see it up large and personal instead of in gallery view. Speaker view and gallery view is up to you. I can't control it as a host or a presenter.
Mhm.
You have control of that, but it's handy to know that you can get a full screen view if you need it. Did those help?
Definitely.
I have a question,
Yeah.
and I'm using my space bar, and I've probably done 500 Zoom meetings in 5 months, and I didn't know about the space bar, so that was cool. I think on your bio, Steve, it says you're a futurist. I'm an optimist, so what's a futurist?
So a futurist who actually takes a disciplined view of how to go about figuring out what is going to happen in the future. If I said somebody is a historian, we automatically think, well, this is somebody that really knows about the past. And a historian may or may not be able to say, let me tell you how what happened in the past is going to fit in the future. As a future, I'm intentionally doing that. And futurists have some disciplines that other people don't think of them. One of them is scenario planning, where you identify possible future scenarios and then try to figure out which ones are most likely, which ones are most dangerous, which ones are most benefit, and then try to figure out what you do today. And one of the techniques you use with scenarios, take a scenario that you would like to see happen, and do a thing called backcasting. We know what forecasting is. Backcasting is starting out in that future state that you defined and say, well, what happened 5 years before I got to that future state? What happened 10 years before it? What happened today that led to 5 years, 10 years, and then that future state? So futurists are people that actually have some discipline around figuring out what's going to happen in the future. If you're interested in futures topics, I do a presentation on September 17th for the LIFE program called Generational Cycles. And it looks at some research that goes from the Pilgrims up until the 1980s. And it identified 4 generational archetypes: baby boomers, Gen X, millennials. It identified 4 generational archetypes that repeat in history. And because they repeat, they create a repetitive 80-year cycle, and they allow us to predict what's going to happen in the future culturally, not what the events will be, but what's going to happen in the society and culture. So if you want to see that, September 17th, I'll be doing that class.
So
Thank
Steve,
you.
if you have your visionary hat on, your futurist hat on, and you put us into say a five years ahead of our current time, would this be a pretty challenging time to get through between now and then? Just seems
Yes.
like there's an awful lot of up in the air stuff.
So if you think about the 80-year cycle, it's now 2020. What was 80 years before that? That's 1940.
Right.
Think 80 years before that, 1860.
Right.
Think 80 years before that, 1780. So what was happening at those 4 points in time? Huge cultural turnover. So we're in for a very wild ride for the next 5 years. What is predicted is a world war on the level of World War II or the Civil War.
Well, with that encouraging thought, we may need another reading from Sarah regarding reflection to balance this out. But, well, Steve, I do want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Very interesting to hear from you, and certainly with all of the options that your programs have, there are some opportunities for our Rotarians to participate and find some activities during these difficult times. So
yeah, especially since you're already skilled at Zoom, we'll see you in class.
you probably
Yeah.
will. Yeah. Don's been trying to get me to do it for a long time, so we'll be there at some point.
Okay,
Thanks again, Steve. Yep. take
my
care.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So Elizabeth, anything further? I think we're about the end of our program for today.
I have nothing further.
Okay. Well, so have a good week. Recognize that next week is our Rotary After Hours. So if you're interested in signing up for one of the activities, sign up for that. And if not, we'll see you on the first meeting in midday meeting in September. So as we adjourn, go and serve, and remember, Rotary opens opportunities. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.